should be televised.
Right.
And I think we can all agree, or we probably should agree, that the one that's going to go first is the January 6th trial in Washington. That's because that's really, in my mind, that's the most important one, and the one that the country needs to put behind it one way or the other. And the Trump team, they want to have that televised.
Sure.
And the prosecution has yet to speak, but it sounds like what they're saying is no. And from my experience in watching the United States Supreme Court cases, they don't televise it, but they have the audio. And my experience is that the audio gives everybody firsthand information. I'm very reluctant to say no audio, no video, because everybody's got a spin on this case. Everybody will have a spin. And the rest of us that just don't have the time to listen to the trial, or not even listen to it, be unable to hear it. We cannot formulate decisions for ourselves, but C-SPAN can run this, and it can run it at night so people that are working can hear it for themselves and make their own decisions. I think it's very important because going into this trial, everybody has their mindset, and when they have their mindset, they don't listen to the evidence.
Right.
It's important that everybody hear the evidence. Right now, the defendants are all innocent until proven guilty, and they have to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So you have to go in with that being the attitude you have going into this, and you want to hear the evidence. You don't want to hear the spin, because spin doctors are going to spin it all one way or the other. Right now in this country, it's down to 20% believe that Trump actually won the election in 2020. And we need to put this behind us one way or the other. And from what I hear from their defenses, in my opinion, is that it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight in court. And we're going to have to hear and see what's going to happen. The defenses, which I tend not to agree with the strategy, the attorneys for Trump are out there now trying to win the case in the media, in the press, and that's not the way you win a trial, by being a spokesman and giving out your arguments. Because you don't have, as the defense counsel, you don't have to prove anything. Prosecution has the burden, and all you're doing as defense counsel by speaking is giving them the impetus of knowing what your case is, and you can put that testimony in the record. And the attorney for Trump is, his whole point now is everything that Trump did was aspirational. He had aspirations that they would stop the election. And he had aspirations that the fake electors would be okay, and that he had aspirations that Mike Pence would turn around and stop the count on January 6th. And he had aspirations that the Georgia Secretary of State would find 11,870 votes. And so the whole argument is he has all these aspirations. Unfortunately for Trump is the fact that he's being charged with a conspiracy.
Right.
And so when you're charged with a conspiracy, the elements of it are you have aspirations, just like Trump has, and then someone, not necessarily Trump, but someone that's a co-conspirator, they act on those aspirations. And so you are charged with not only what your aspirations are, but what your co-conspirators did.
Right.
And so while all of these aspirations in and of themselves may not be actionable, when your six co-conspirators take steps in furtherance of that conspiracy, and you can prove that they conspired, which is also part of the elements, you're just as guilty as the person who hired the fake electors, who had the fake electors sign their votes in Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan. And so you're stuck with the actual facts. So, now not only is there aspirations here, but there's evidence. And the evidence exists that they fired the attorney general, Barr, and put in a new attorney general who would, they thought, would help them, and they were going to fire him and put in somebody in the environmental group in the Department of Justice. And so they continued to have the acts in furtherance of this conspiracy. They filed 30 lawsuits. Now, at the beginning, they had these lawsuits, and at some point, you reach a point where there's a line.
Right.
Okay. So, and here, filing those lawsuits is not illegal.
Right.
And, in Bush v. Gore, everything was litigated in court, and Gore lost, and he accepted that fate. Here, they filed 30 lawsuits claiming that there was fraud in the account and the machines were crooked, and they had all these bizarre theories, and some of which they thought were crazy themselves. And okay, it's still lawsuits. That's okay.
Right.
That's what the courts are there for. That was all well and good, but it's the question is, where do you draw the line? And here, they drew a line. They went one step over the line. It's really where we are today, and that's what the case is about.
Well, and so just a minor correction. If I'm not mistaken, it was over 60 lawsuits. I believe 62. And as we know, he lost all 62. I think there was a caveat that he won, which was meaningless. But yeah, so but the other thing, to your point about the audio, one of the things that a lot of people have not done, and I did this specifically when it came to Arizona, which is my home state. Giuliani, the audio when Giuliani was at the courthouse here in Arizona in front of the judge, that audio is available, and you can download it. You can listen to his argument, and the judge asked him flat out, "Are you going to argue that there was fraud, voter fraud?" And Giuliani said, "No, we're going to argue that there was, some miscounts here and there, and blah blah blah." So, to your point, you need something. If it's not going to be televised, I do believe that we need a minimum of an audio, because even if it's televised, and even if we have access to the audio, spin doctors, conspiracy theorists, they're not going to stop. But at least the people who are looking for the information can download the audios, they can watch it, they can listen, and they can hear the evidence. And ultimately, again, to your point, everybody is innocent, is presumed innocent till proven guilty. And so I think right now he's currently facing over 72 different indictments, might be more than that, but at least over 70 indictments. He might prevail on a few. He only has to lose on one or two, and they're all fairly serious. I think, in my opinion, the least serious of the indictments are the one coming out of New York regarding the false records or business records. Those, I think, are they're not as crucial, but you're looking at the other federal indictments. They're all serious. Not one of them is a misdemeanor. They're all felonies. Then you have Fonnie Willis out of Georgia. That's gonna, they're anticipating those indictments to drop, within the next week or 2 or 3. Those are all serious. So if he just loses 1 or 2 out of the 70 plus, he's still facing some serious trouble.
Yeah. And, I want to get back to my line that I've drawn in the sand. It's one step over the line for a conspiracy, because the first part where he goes over the line is having these fake electors sign under penalty of perjury that they were the duly elected electors from the states of Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan and other states. And that is over the line. I mean, he can have aspirations that Georgia should vote for him, have electors to vote for him, but it didn't happen. So instead of accepting the fact that it didn't happen, they came up with these fake electors. And that is just, in my mind, that's the smoking gun in terms of an act in furtherance of the conspiracy. That's one step over the line. The other one is with Pence, interfering with a government proceeding, with trying to get Pence to call off the vote and not recognize the decision of the duly elected persons. Now, Pence, to his credit, didn't do it, but in a conspiracy to violate the law, an attempt is just as bad as in the actual act itself. So I think that that's another very strong case that they have that Trump can't run away from. And so in Georgia, he makes the phone call for the 11,870 votes from the Secretary of State. Now, that's aspirational, but the fact is that there was acts in furtherance of that by having the fake electors in Georgia, and that was part of the conspiracy. And so I think Trump's charged with going one step over the line, not because of something he did, but because of something he said and someone else did in furtherance of that conspiracy. And so we have those issues that he has to deal with the fake electors and trying to force Pence, personally trying to force Pence into stopping the vote on January 6th. So at the end of the day, and forget all the other lawsuits, I think that January 6th will be tried, but still in all, it's a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And the question really becomes, do we want a president who's going to be dealing with the 2020 election and retribution and, kind of payback, because that's what he said. I get elected, it's payback time. And so are we going to want a president to do that, or that's also a Putin protege and, has shown his colors there? And are we going to walk away from Ukraine? Do we want a president that's going to be looking there, or do we want a president that would continue in the vein we have, and with record number of jobs that have come in, with an infrastructure bill, with bringing down inflation? I mean, Biden's had a pretty good run so far. I mean, I don't know if anybody on Trump's side would admit it, but he's had a pretty good run economically to protect us and keep the country strong, and to be a force in foreign policy to stop Putin from, attacking not only Ukraine. The next stop is Poland and across Europe. And if this gets successful, there's really a danger that China would then invade Taiwan, and then we really have in trouble in the world. So,
right,
in my mind, Trump, for protection of the American people and in the world and in their own economy, Trump has too much baggage. And I would say that the Republicans should think twice before they put this man up for an office that he's going to not be looking out after the people. He's going to be looking out for himself.
Right. Well, again, to your point, if you look at the 2016 campaign, his message was very tight. Let's make America great again, which he borrowed from Ronald Reagan. He had a very strong message. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to make America great again. Okay, great messaging. Today, his message is retribution, retribution, retribution. It's nothing to do with the people, nothing to do with America. It's completely about getting even with who he perceives to be his enemies. To your point on Pence, I think the entire U.S., or at least, I'm sorry, most of the United States was extremely relieved that Pence carried out his duties. And he got support from Republicans as well as Democrats. And I was so impressed with his demeanor, because not only is he being attacked verbally in public by the president, but his supporters are chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." And at any moment now, I really was expecting him to jump on a press conference and just let everybody have it. But to his credit, his demeanor was very presidential or vice presidential. He wasn't trying to be, he didn't do anything that to exacerbate the situation. He just did his duty, upheld the Constitution. People have asked him, when I say people, some of the Trump supporters have asked him, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And he's very straightforward. My job was to uphold the Constitution. And some of the big Trump supporters have acknowledged that Pence did the right thing. At that time, he did the only thing he was allowed to do. Senator Lindsey Graham was grateful. And Lindsey Graham is a Trump supporter, but he said, Pence did the right thing. He carried out his duty. And on the fake electors, what's incredible about the fake electors, and some of these people are now coming forward saying that they were bamboozled, that they were told one thing to sign this document and it was used differently, that what they were told was going to happen. But bottom line is, to me, it's two different acts, and maybe it's the same, but at one point you have these fake state electors. Okay, now we have a state crime, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Then they submit it to Congress. Now, in my opinion, we have possibly a federal crime. So it's two things in furtherance of that conspiracy. And again, whether these people were tricked, but they know that they weren't duly sworn electors. I mean, at some point, if you're going to be a duly sworn elector, there's got to be a ceremony. You're going to receive something from somebody saying, hey, Norm, Bert, you guys are duly sworn elector. Here's your certificate. You have to do a ceremony. There's got to be a process when you become an elector. So I think somebody there was like, I don't know, smoking crack, pie in the sky. Yeah, I'm a duly sworn elector, even though I've done nothing to get this appointment. And so they sign their name to this document. It is put before Congress, I believe before Pence, but multiple people. And all I can say is this is a tremendous test for our democracy. This is a tremendous test of the will of the people. It is, and I hate to use this word because it's been overused, but it is unprecedented. It is unprecedented. It's definitely historical that what we are seeing here unfold. And I'm grateful that our republic still stands.
Yeah. The thing that concerns me is Trump just has too much baggage, and looking backwards, and whether it's Chris Christie or Pence, one of the two of those, at least they don't have the baggage and they'll be moving forward. The idea is that whoever the Republicans have to call Trump out and say, look, you got too much baggage. You know, you shouldn't be running. The things you've done, you're charged with. There should be a trial, speedy trial, the January 6th case, and that should put an end to the fact of whether he's guilty or not. I think that's the main one, and be done with it. But the Republicans are going to have to stand up because this country needs a president that's looking forward. What happened is in the pinch downgrade of our treasuries. One of the reasons they downgraded the Treasury notes, that the full faith and credit of the United States, is because of our political situation and what's happening in Washington and the threat that we won't pay our debts. And if you recall, Trump said with regard to the debt when he was president, why not? We'll default on the debt. He's defaulted on so much debt in his life, it's no big deal. I mean, but you have $31 trillion that is held, around the world. It would cause a devastating depression. Jobs would be lost. People would be out of work. I can't tell you the calamity that would bring to this country if the U.S. dollar was in jeopardy, and that's what he's done. So really, if you're working stiff and you worry about your job or your whole treasury bills, or you're worried about your business, whether you're management or labor, I think you just need to walk away from Trump. And so, it's all right to have an adversary system. Management and labor can disagree on a lot of things, but Trump has just too much baggage and he's looking the wrong direction. He's not focused on any of the issues that are faced by the workers. And, he's just not the guy for the future. And he's from the past.
Right.
And when you're in the past, you got to stay in the past. Let him have his day in court. Whether he wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Because if he continues to run and becomes president, we are in a sorry state, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Absolutely, more baggage than like 10 politicians put together. It's incredible. I remember. I believe he's a Republican as well. What was his name? Something Weiner, right? Can't forget his last name. And so at least when he got caught doing his dumb stuff, he had the decency to bow out of the race twice. And former President Trump has no dignity, has no shame. He doesn't care. I was looking this up. I can't remember the politician's name, but a federal judge disqualified one of the politicians that supported Trump because of his involvement in the January 6th riot, using the 14th Amendment, Section 3 disqualification clause. And I predict, this is what I'm predicting here, that Trump will eventually be found guilty on one or more than one count. All they need is the one. And then they can disqualify him. That's what I assume is going to happen. That's what I predict is going to happen, because he shouldn't run. He's unhinged. We've already talked about, he doesn't care about the country anymore. He wants to get even. He wants to get back on that presidential pedestal and say, look, I won. I got it. It's me. It's me. It's me. The other thing that cracks me up about this whole thing is, and this happened here in Arizona with Kari Lake as well. You have these people who sit here and scream that the election was rigged, the election was fraud, it's a broken system, but yet they're going to run for the office that they're saying was broken, or not the office, but they're going to use the system. I know it's the only system we have, but they're going to use a system that they're saying is full of fraud and broken to try to get a position. It doesn't make sense to me, because if I believe something was truly fraudulent and broken, why would I still waste my time? I mean, I'm certainly not going to run if I believe that the election is going to be stolen. What's the point? Why are you running if you believe the system is broken? Because if it's broken, you're not going to get elected again, period. What's the point?
And it all comes down to the evidence. I had a client once who, in a case, he was in a franchise, and he claimed he wasn't in a franchise. He never signed a franchise agreement. That's what he told me, and I'm his attorney. And as far as I knew, that was what he wasn't a franchisee. And then, as they're taking his deposition, they bring out a piece of paper. Let me show you, sir, a franchise agreement. And is that your signature? He goes, oh, you got evidence. And so I think that's what's going to happen in the Trump trial. Oh, you got evidence. That's why I think it's so important to have this trial audio on live so people can see. And I think if we come out with one thing today is, let's see if Trump crossed the line. It's one step over the line, but let's see the evidence. Let the people see the evidence. You don't have to see the faces. You don't have to see the people. They're protected as much as the Supreme Court protects themselves. And you even use, caricatures. Don't even use photos. But let's get the evidence out. And I would urge the Department of Justice to agree to this as a compromise and proceed this way, because otherwise all we're going to get as people is spin, spin, spin.
Right. Yeah, from both sides. I think as a bare minimum, audios need to be released as a bare minimum. I would like to see it televised myself personally. They televised the O.J. Simpson trial, and that captivated America. I remember back then, Blockbuster Video was a thing. And Blockbuster Video lost literally millions of dollars in rental fees because America was captivated by this trial. Yeah. And so I think, to your point, Americans want to know. They want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. They want to see the justice system in action. They want to see what evidence, if any, the government has. And I think that for those reasons, it should be televised. I think that, again, as a bare minimum, sure, some pictures and some audio, great. But I think televised would be better. And I think that America is not served. No, this is not a win-win situation. This is not a win-lose situation, in my opinion. America is not going to be stronger or better because one of our former presidents gets indicted. If former President Trump does get indicted, he's not going to go away. He's not going to be silenced. He's still going to have a huge amount of influence. He's still going to have his social media platform. He is never going to go away unless by some, he does something super offensive and they take down his platforms again. But bottom line is, America is not going to be served by arresting or indicting or finding one of our presidents guilty of wrongdoing. That smears us. I think it hurts us. However, I think it's time, like you said, to move on. There's no reason for America to invest any more time with a guy, as you said, with that much baggage. Nobody else would do that. It is time for the Republican Party to find somebody else. It is time for America to start healing from this individual. I'm just a loss. I truly am at a loss that the Republican Party continues to embrace former President Trump as much as they do. Marjorie Taylor Greene has done an incredible job of trying to impersonate, what's his name, former President Trump. And what's so funny too, there's a clip that I thought this was really smart marketing that the Biden administration is using, because she got up and she was trying to make Biden look bad by declaring all the stuff that he has done. He's put together an infrastructure bill, and he's done this to try to improve education, and he's done this to try to improve the health. And all he's doing is carrying on some programs that FDR started a long time ago. But everything she listed, and she was trying to put it in, she was trying to put it in a negative light, really rings very positive. And so now the Biden administration is using that video clip in their marketing, which I thought was brilliant. But yeah, I think it's time for everybody to move on, and until former President Trump is disqualified completely, because he's said whether he gets indicted or not, whether he's in prison or not, he will continue to run. And he says, even if I'm in prison, I will run the office from prison. I really hope that we never see anything like that. But it's time to disqualify him. Let him stay home. Let him build his business. Let him have a great life. But let's just move on.
Yeah, let's close this chapter. He's got too much baggage. Let's stop looking backwards. Let's start looking forward. Let's get this country on the right track again. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, whoever gets elected, make it a fair one, but it just can't be Trump.
Right. And to your point,
too much baggage, win or lose.
Right. And if a Republican gets the office again and they want to pardon Trump, so be it. I don't care. I just think that it's, I think a lot of people are both Republicans and Democrats are ready for somebody else other than Trump. Again, a lot of high-ranking Republicans have moved on. They're not going to support him. And so I think, again, yeah, we all need a break. It's enough.
Yeah, enough is enough. Enough
is enough. Norm, as always, it's good. This case is so interesting. I think it's interesting from all aspects, from just a democratic democracy point of view, from a legal standpoint of view, from the people's will point of view. This case fascinates me. It fascinates a lot of people. I'm sure that you and I will get back together and talk about some of the things, some other things as more indictments roll out and as the trial proceeds. I think it's worth watching. And anyways, I'm glad you stopped by. Looking forward to have you back again.
All right, Bert. All the best. Take care. Thanks.